Our first story deals with a subculture of heavy metal music that some feel is sending a dangerous message to your kids.
The forces of evil on the dark side of devil rock.
And I want to talk tonight about the devil and demons and witches and wizards.
And we just mix it up with hardcore and aggression and come out with something we think's an original sound.
Loud, fast, heavy, you know.
Well, what do you got?
What do you got?
You're listening to Riff Worship, the podcast that attempts to answer the age-old question, what makes a riff? Why do we care about the riffs? Sometimes talking about our favorite albums concerning riffs, sometimes talking about people who make riffs. I'm one of your hosts, Austin Paulson. With me, as always, are my very good friends, my friends in music, Swindle and Dylan Adams. How are y'all doing?
Doing great.
That's enough. All right, we got a great special episode today. As you know, we've been kind of doing a deep dive series on Baton Rouge, Louisiana's own Thou. We're covering all of their full-length releases. Umbilical is definitely out now. It's out now on Sacred Bones Records, and my God, it's great. The planets are aligned, everything. Everybody loves it. We're here with two members of Thou that had a hand in making the record, Brian Funk and Andy Gibbs of Thou. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Also friends in music. Yes. my friend in music, Brian.
Yeah, for longer than Thou.
That's true. Yeah, our friendship predates Thou.
Did you guys meet through, I know Brian used to book shows, and I know you had, at least Andy, you had like a record that came out on Brian's label, correct? One Eye? We Need to Talk. It was like the band that you played in?
Yeah, we met. Well, I guess we probably first met at a show Brian used to book at the warehouse that he lived at. I started going to shows there in like 2003, and I would just go to a bunch of shows and start seeing him around. So he was a known person. The first show I went there was Lightning Bolt and USA as a Monster in 2003. Great show. I guess maybe we might have met that night. I remember there being you made a bunch of vegan gumbo, and I remember eating some vegan gumbo.
Does Brian make a sick vegan?
He actually does. It's world famous. Saw it when we played in Germany one time. We went to go to sleep in the bunks above the venue, and someone had written, "I miss Brian Funk's gumbo."
I think it was Mike. It was Mike Taylor, one of this like Haram tour, one of those bands, Pygmy Lush. I think it's Haram.
Hey Mitch, do you have any?
What's up?
Do you have any comments about?
I have any comments about what?
Brian's world famous vegan gumbo.
It's good.
There you have it.
Start making it again.
I do make it.
Yeah, you're not at his house like eating. We just don't have a event. Like, we should have a band dinner.
Shows.
We should just all get together as a band and eat Brian's gumbo together.
Yeah.
The Sunday Thou dinners.
We used to do that. We used to have, me, Matthew, and Andy would go eat at Smoky Bones.
Smoky Bones, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'd practice, go to Smoky Bones, come back, practice some more.
Or go to the Chimes. We do that every week.
Yeah. Some famous.
We would do.
You gotta move this along. You guys will be.
Oh, that's true. Mitch is on a tight deadline here.
Is this not part of it? Are we not recording? This is good stuff. Where else did we eat in Baton Rouge?
I don't have to think about that.
All right, kick it off.
We'll get back to you on that one, though. We will.
Perfect. Well, the record, as I mentioned before, definitely out now. We're on a Terminator timeline. How does it feel? Congratulations for one. This is awesome.
Thanks so much.
How does it feel now that it's like about to get released into the world, I guess, next week as of recording this?
I was just saying earlier, it feels weird that we put it up and it's sort of streaming, and I feel like I haven't really heard anything about it. I don't know. I'm wondering if anybody cares, or if this is our wake up call where people are like, get out of here, old guys.
That's classic Thou though, because you have to do a bunch of work to hear it right now in this moment. You'd have to download the game, figure out how it works, install it, beat it, then you can listen to it. How many, and then if you haven't done that yet, we're deeply disappointed in you.
I was watching the stream. It seemed like one wild game. First of all, lots of dancing going on. Emails as well. You guys had worked with. Is it? Oh man, what's the name of the company here?
Geography of Robots.
Yeah, you'd worked on them with the previous game, Narcos, right? Or Norcos? Norco, not the Netflix television show Narcos.
We did work on that, but this is a different thing.
Right. Yes. Can't wait to hear that.
Was just, we just did like gapping and
Yeah. Brian was the best boy on Narcos season 3.
Always the best boy. Yeah.
Brian seems like he was in this video game. That picture was
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
There's some resemblance. Yeah, we know Geography of Robots from a while back. Back then it was we were going to help him out by doing some music for his little side project game thing. And then the side project game blew up, became huge. And it was like, oh, I'm helping out my little boys and now put some of their little songs on it. And he like turned the tables on us. It won the first, I think, what is it, Sundance Video Game Award ever or something. Wow. Yeah, incredible.
Very highly critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's been, and maybe like Swindle or Dylan, you guys can, maybe you know better than I, but has there ever really been, like maybe when you were growing up, like a special kind of secret way to check out a record like that, like maybe not so much in video games, but maybe like, I don't know. I was trying to think if there is anything that comes to mind.
9 Inch Nails did some stuff in the, I want to say around the like late 90s, early 2000s. They basically created, I don't know if y'all know what an ARG is, it's like a alternate reality game where basically they left like clues all around major cities portending, a mysterious event that if you looked into it and managed to use the clues to find a website, had a download to the album like well ahead of its release, stuff like that. But I think they're the kind of,
You also used to be able to call this phone number at the newspaper and they would preview songs on albums, and I would do that all the time. Did anybody remember that?
I don't remember that. That's cool. Bring that up.
Yeah, it was like a thing you could call and it would tell you the movie times, and then it's like, here are the albums coming out this week. Select the album. And I remember being so excited and called in and listened to all the new Sugar Ray album tracks that were about to come out. And I was like, this album's gonna rule. It wasn't the full songs, but it'd be like 30 seconds to a minute of a song and then they'd move on.
They also related to that is like They Might Be Giants back in like the 80s. They had a dial a song thing. Basically, they would they put a phone number in the paper, and if you dial the number, it would pick up on whatever his name is answering machine, and he'd have a song ready to go for that day that you could just call up and listen to whenever you wanted. So, we're not that original, I guess.
No, I like it. It's an interesting way to kind of preview the album, and it's definitely something we want to get into. But I guess first, to kind of really start out, obviously we've done a 4-part series. You guys have been pretty forthcoming with a lot of the information through interviews and such, but we're only 3 guys. I'm sure we didn't get everything right. We definitely didn't pronounce everything the most correctly, but if what maybe you've listened to it, was there anything that stuck out that maybe we didn't get correct, that maybe you had on the back of your head, like, oh shit, that wasn't quite there?
Yeah, I didn't make a list. I meant to.
I thought about it. I really thought about making a list, but there wasn't that. I mean, it wasn't that much.
Okay.
It's going to be impossible to get it all right, but
I don't feel like I didn't feel like, I don't know, maybe this is too self-effacing, but I guess I didn't feel like we were important enough for me to be like, let me make sure our legacy is being represented accurately. It's like, it's not like we've gone out there and put a shitload of information out for people to get every minute detail. We've gone back and forth with how forthcoming, and also we've just lied a whole lot. So we expect people to be able to know when we're lying.
When we do put the information out there, it's so convoluted and it's so like filled with like half truths a lot of times that it's like, I think it's hard to tell for a lot of people what's real and what's not.
Y'all did report on some stuff that was made up that you said was fact. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm glad we could feed into that.
No, we're super stoked on that. That's like a highlight.
It's the plan the whole time.
I mean, I don't know. It's like it's just like when listening to any album. Like you most of the time you can only really speculate unless you're talking about a Metallica album where they filmed the entire making of it. Outside of that, it's like I wouldn't expect anyone to know how anything was made.
But me and Brian, and we were anytime somebody asked us about it, we would say like it's surprising how close y'all got on a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
which is really cool that y'all took the time. So thanks for doing that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing it. I really appreciate it. There was definitely a lot of people who had opinions from that first episode. But
I mean, it's very. I just find it very humbling that 3 or 2.5 guys have listened to that much of our material and actually looked at the lyrics or looked at the records or read interviews. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, who reads those?
I mean, gauging by the interviews we do, answer the same freaking questions over and over.
Yeah.
Not the people interviewing us.
That's true. Yeah, we had to put out a list of questions we were sick of answering some years ago.
Radiohead style. Also, what I really liked is that y'all would when you'd go through and talk about here are the songs on the EPs and the splits we like. I forgot about so many of these songs, and I went back and listened, and I was like, "Damn, we're awesome. Yeah. We're so good." So I liked that.
Yeah. So now that you guys are finished, do we have too much material? Is it too much? Did we do too much? Did we go too far?
I like it. I say, yeah, keep going, man. What are you talking about?
Sorry, Swindle. We cut you off twice. What were you about to say?
I was gonna jokingly say, speaking of questions you've answered too much, how about Crowbar and I Hate God? How about that?
I mean, without them, there would be no us.
In some sense, I guess.
Literally, I mean, my Uncle Mike getting us in with some people really helped out. So with that, literally without I Hate God, we wouldn't be.
Some of the big movers and shakers of the New Orleans metal scene.
Yeah.
Who definitely embraced us from the beginning.
I know a guy who knows Phil.
Yeah.
That's everybody. That's everybody here, minus one of those guys.
Material wise, coming from kind of an outsider of only being familiar with a couple records or some tracks, just basically filtering through what these guys have been barraging me with for the last decade. I can say that I don't believe there's too much material there, because what's great about all the material that's out there is what these two guys demonstrated when picking out things from splits, collabs, so on and so forth, is that you can kind of get different feels from the band throughout all of that stuff. So maybe if you're not necessarily a fan of one era or you're not a fan of one style, you've got all this other stuff to choose from. Because when these two guys presented the fact of all right, we want to talk about the EPs, collabs, and all this, my gut dropped, because it was how much are we going to have to dig into? Because there's so much here.
And it's not easy to listen to either.
What's that?
Most of it isn't very easy to listen to, I don't think.
No, that's not necessarily wrong. I mean, it's really dense. It's really thought out. It's, there's a lot of layers to it. It's longer tracks as well as that. But luckily for us three knuckleheads, it's all right, we're going to put the cans on and just hone in on this for an hour to an hour and a half, and maybe get through 2 songs in that time period.
I thought going back and listening to Algiers and Oakland, that popped out to me listening to the whole comp, because the full lengths would be like in Heathen, there is an interlude or a quiet song with acoustic and no vocals. But a lot of times on the compilations of tracks, it's just heavy thou for 7 songs in a row, because they were all separated into 2 or 3 songs or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the time we get to kind of, okay, what the records are more focused. all right, we're gonna sit down with an idea, we're gonna work on this, and then the splits and EPs, it's like, all right, let's get a little nuts here and there. Shorter, tighter songs. Yeah. So yeah, putting all those together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that you said that, Will, with like the records being kind of, pretty well thought out. And I think one thing that we learned through doing this series was that, a lot of, even if it was just the title of a record, had been considered, several years before a record was even released. And, with like Umbilical, I think I read where, you've been discussing this record since like 2017. Is that correct?
Yeah, and in kind of like the title I think probably had been kicking around since then. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a working title when we first started talking about it.
But we did that with, basically after Peasant, we were like Tyrant, Peasant, Summit, Heathen, like the just from names alone, we like had names that then led to, uh theses, or.
I think Matthew came up with Summit, right?
Yeah, he did.
Wanted to call Summit. Yeah, I mean, I think when we recorded Summit, either right after we recorded Summit was when we were talking to Southern Lord about signing on with them, and Greg had offered us like a kind of standard like 3-record deal, and that's when I had I had the idea for Summit, and then the idea was, if we're going to do 3 records with Southern Lord, let's kind of have them be linked. So like Summit was like the main record, and then the other 2 records, Heathen and Magus, were the sort of like extrapolations of Summit in like 2 different directions, right? And it only kind of the creative idea of it only kind of came up because the thing with Songwriting came up where we were going to do 3 records. And then once I had already started working on that, we just kind of stuck with it for those 3. But I can't remember when we started doing Heathen, I can't remember if we were like, I know we had the idea I had already been talking about doing Heathen and Magus, but I can't remember if like we started writing Heathen, it was like, okay, this one's going to be Heathen. And then I started writing everything.
I think that's right.
I can't remember exactly how we're going to do it.
I think that's right.
Y'all mentioned at some point too that we talked about doing Heathen and Magus as like the A side, B side at one point. That was something we were talking about when I think because we weren't sure if we were going to stay a band after Heathen, because Andy moved right before we recorded to California, to Oakland. Mitch was moving right after we recorded to Glendale. And I think at that point, it was like a real low point. We were sort of like, weren't sure if that was going to be the last record. And so like, then it was like, oh, well, maybe we need to just like get the idea out and done. And that was just sort of like way to do it, is have a sort of A side, B side double album. But then at some point that kind of, in the writing process, that kind of changed, and I think we got in slightly a better place. And then I remember we had a band talk right after we recorded. That was like not a good band talk.
There's so many of those. They run together in my mind.
I remember it being like still real ambivalent if we were going to like stay a band, and we decided to like not take a year off from the band, but take a year off from touring.
Yeah.
And we took that year. That's when we did Subservient Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it probably wasn't until we got the Heathen mixes back from James, like months later. I think we recorded it and it was like a while, like 3 or 4 months or something.
Because we recorded it straight to tape, because the studio, the living room, they have a 2-inch tape machine. And it took forever to get it transferred to digital.
Right.
And it was also very expensive. And
then he took a minute to mix it. And then once he got us the mixes back, all of a sudden we loved the record. We loved the record. And so it's sort of, I think it sort of reinvigorated us a little bit.
100%.
Since y'all come up with like the themes or the theses so far out, Brian, do you ever have to like rewrite your lyrics? Like if y'all thought of Umbilical in like 2017, did you like in 2022, were you ever like, I feel a lot different about what I wrote in 2017. I don't like that anymore.
No, well, I mean, yes and no, but I mean, I'm not usually the way I write the lyrics isn't quite like that. So it's like, we'll have the idea for the thing whenever we have the idea for the thing. And then like, I'm always taking like all kinds of notes, just notes of stuff. Oh, I like this word makes me think of a certain thing, or this thing I saw makes me think of a certain thing, or this band lyric or whatever. So I'm like constantly just jotting down stuff. I have like endless lists of just stuff. And then when we come up with a record idea, usually I'll like go through those lists and I'll start parceling stuff out and like building like a better list of like what works with that record. And a lot of times it'll be like, the way I'll start is like, I'll either start a song from like some other band's lyric or just a word or whatever, one of those things from the list or some stuff I kind of piece together, or I'll have like a title, and the title will I'll have a loose idea of like the thing I want to write about based on the title, and I'll kind of work with something. But all that stuff, it doesn't really mean anything until there's music. And then once there's music, I'll have little chunks of stuff that I'm like, oh, this sounds like it's this song to me. And then I'll pull that in and I'll start rearranging stuff, and I might pull stuff from other things I was working on, or I'll scrap it and I'll totally rewrite it. So it just depends. But for me, like the music got to be there first. And like the way we used to work with Thou is like, I'm from New Orleans. They're all from Baton Rouge. And I would drive up to Baton Rouge for practice like once a week, something like that. And the way it used to work is, I think even at first, like I didn't even come up every week. It was like I would come up when there was new material,
full songs already written.
Full song. They'd have worked out a song without me already, and I'd come up and be like, "All right, here's the song," and ideally, I'd have some stuff that I could just kind of work in around it. And sometimes I worked, and sometimes it didn't. Now it's like I like to be there when we're in the practice space writing the stuff, so I can also have a say in how it sounds, where the placement, all that stuff. So I'm like kind of there from the beginning, and it's like easy for me to kind of figure out. And now I'm like not as like, I don't feel like I have to be. We're not in a rush for me to like. I'd rather get something that I want on the song than like try to rush it, and then my brain gets locked into, oh, this is a thing, but I'm not really happy with it, and then I'm like, I don't know. That's like a whole nother thing for me.
Was there, when we were diving into some of these records and the interviews, another thing that stood out was that, for the most part, not every record, but it seemed to be like there was at least maybe one song that was, like Swindle mentioned, the thesis. Was there a thesis? Was there a song in particular? And maybe Andy, you can speak to this, since I understand you wrote a lot of this music for the record, but was there like a thesis song for Umbilical?
I wish there would have been. Well, the challenge this time around was usually Matthew comes in. Like what usually happens is like I write a song or two, whatever. Matthew's kind of twiddling his thumbs, biding his time, and then he comes in after I've written a couple, and he's like, actually, fuck all that. This is what the record sounds like. And then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. And then I go back and like write some more with that in mind. But this time around, that did not happen. So we were kind of left with whatever I came up with, or like Mitch's song your song came pretty early, and Brian's song came pretty early too, actually. So those were already in play. But no, in my mind, it's one thing that makes this record hard for me to gauge in terms of how it fits with the rest of our stuff, because there isn't, in my mind, that focal point. So I'm kind of like, what is the spirit of this record? And I think the spirit of the record is like present in all the songs, but there isn't one song that ties it all together and says like, this is the deal. So,
I mean, it's more like a comp of the single singles. It's more like a comp of like the splits to me. Like,
Don't let the critics hear that one.
well, I mean, I was uploading a video this morning of like and yesterday of one of those Frank videos, and a couple of those sets like are mostly like non-album tracks, and they fit together kind of good, but like we didn't, they're from all over the place. It's not like we wrote them as like a cohesive record. So like this record to me is like maybe that's the way I'm starting to think about it. It's like it's more like the experimental side and for us of Thou as a full length rather than as like parceled out between a bunch of like splits and EPs.
Yeah, it's definitely more like a record that's more representative of the spirit of what we do live, I would say.
Yes.
That's
100%.
like if there's anything that's like kind of an overarching thing, it would be that. Like, because live we tend to play the more aggressive, more upbeat, well, up tempo, I should say. Songs, not so much upbeat. I don't know. The Promise is pretty happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's if there's any overarching musical thing, I think maybe it's that it sounds kind of like the live show a little bit, which is what we wanted.
Y'all have listened to the album, guys?
Yep.
Y'all have it.
Yeah.
Y'all like it? Is
Love
it okay?
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
It,
great.
Does it?
Can
Does
trust
it
them for an
feel-
honest opinion right now.
Well, right, but does it feel like too much of a departure? That's what I was worried about a little bit. Is it not Thou enough
No, I mean,
to a listener?
I can't speak for Swindle and Dylan, but when I listened to it, it kind of felt, more or less like an expansion of like the Hightower stuff that y'all did with James, and just like, oh wow, this definitely reminds me of like, seeing Smoke Pigs for the first time live, like in Nashville. I was like blown away. And so, yeah, I definitely get a lot of that kind of raw like energy of it. But, as far as like, does it sound Thou enough? Like, I feel like it's very reminiscent of, maybe some stuff I would have heard for the first, like from the first few records for sure. With some new elements. I mean, Brian, it sounded like some of the stuff you were working on with like maybe a secret industrial kind of record or electronic record, like fed into
so
this.
secret.
Not so secret. Yeah. So I liked, I've really enjoyed it thus far. We've been listening to a lot, and it's, what is it, like 50 minutes?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. So
It's a breeze. It's an EP.
I don't know. How do y'all Swindle? How did you guys feel about it?
I just want to say that the Emotional Terrorist, the bass on the beginning and the middle, the slowdown of that song really stuck out as like a moment of the whole album. When I was like listening to it, I was just like, whoa, holy shit, what is happening? Like right now, what's fucking happening?
That's
pretty cool.
That's what our buddy Timmy Gorbs told me. He said, I sent him the record. He's like, Emotional Terrorist, that's the one. That should be the single.
You wanted to cut that song. You didn't like that song.
I thought it was okay. I don't know. There wasn't a moment of that song where I was like, yeah, like this is cool.
Did you guys say in the stream, was that like from a real interaction, like some sort of the name of the song?
Yeah, I'm scared. Should we should we speak at length multiple times?
Brian said it. He did. I made him do the impression on the stream the other day because it's so good.
That's from real life. But that's like one of those things that like we reference like constantly, which is all we ever do on tour is just.
I had an idea to get Mike Williams to redo that sample from Born Against is Fucking Dead, where yo, Born Against, you better be extremely fucking cautious about who you talk shit about. I was trying to get him to record that for the record. He said he would do it, and then he fucking ghosted me.
Dude, what's wrong with your uncle, dude? Come on.
Yeah, Mitch, come on.
Yeah,
There's a lot of family stuff going on right now. A lot of inter-family turmoil. My mom is pissed that he did not do this.
You know what? I'm sorry. I don't know what, was going on behind the scenes. So, well,
yeah.
I hope whatever gets worked out,
As
Thank you.
as someone who's never had a chance to see the band live, Upon listening to the record, I could already kind of put together that it felt more of like a live record. It felt the aggression was pushed up a couple notches. Abrasive was the word that I think we've all used off air, is how abrasive it sounds, how abrasive the band sounds. You know, it's right out the gate, like just immediately intense from basically second one to, 49, 59, whatever it is. And I will say that the track that stood out the most to me, aside from The Promise, just because it does feel and sound a little bit different, just with it just has kind of a major key feel, or a major kind of upbeat kind of vibe to it. But the last track, Siege Perilous, just really honing into listening to it. I was working out one day and ended up, I thought I was going to lob like a kettlebell across the room or something like that. Like it just hit. I was like, all right, there's the kind of bridge for the gap, right? There's the really fast stuff meeting the kind of typical thou sound that we're all used to. And going through the records like we did over the last many weeks and getting to listen to all of them in order, and then getting this one after kind of these two big behemoths of Heathen and Magus. We caught me on that one. Heathen and Magus. Getting this was just like, oh, okay, here we go. This is it. It felt almost like a palate cleanser of sorts, of like, oh man, this is what these guys have been trying to push on me for the last decade. This is what we're getting into, and like getting to listen to all those records, getting to listen to the new one and go, okay, I understand it. I get it. I really enjoy this band's output a lot, because I get to pick and choose, like I mentioned earlier, of like, oh, I really enjoy this type of sound or this type of sound. And they're all blended together on the new record. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a fantastic record.
Thanks. Yeah, I think Siege Perilous is definitely in my mind, that's like the thou classic mode track. That's like, I think the thing that sounds the most like something we would do, for better or worse.
You wanted to cut it off the record.
I wanted to cut it. Yeah, well, I didn't want to.
I did too.
I wasn't crazy about it.
There would have only been 4 songs on this album.
Yeah, barely. Yeah.
I was bummed. I fought for. There's a part in the song, "The Break," where everything drops out and the last guitar thing happens. I was so bummed that we didn't like hold on to that moment. I think ultimately it was the right call, but I don't know. If you listen to it, you know what I mean. I wanted to like jam this part out and really rock it. And Andy and Tyler were like, no, let's just give them a little taste and then we'll move on. And I was like, God, we are blowing it. We're missing a huge opportunity. And so whenever I lost that fight, I was like, this song sucks. I don't want this song on the album.
We're working in a live set one day to surprise people.
Yeah.
Did y'all put that sample at the very beginning of the record to make it seem more like a live set? Like there's just like somebody talking?
Sounded like somebody saying like check or something, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Who do y'all think that is? Somebody else got it wrong too, and some other thing. No, y'all didn't recognize the voice?
No.
It's not one of us.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Oh,
just wondering.
Damn.
Who are you gonna tell us?
No, we're not gonna tell you. Most of the samples are from the practice space we're in is just like a old like hotel that's like basically converted into practice spaces. And the James Whitten studio, Hightower, is just down the hall from us. So I just thought it'd be cool to like basically get like, on my phone or whatever, like samples of like other bands, just the noises you hear in the hall or like the noises you hear from the room of like different bands all practicing at the same time and just kind of loop. So you had sort of like organic, like this is the thing in the practice space, whatever.
Now that's going to fucking eat away at me forever.
Yeah, that other sample, that's from like a famous thing.
Okay.
I recognized it. I knew right away what it was, and it's not something I've ever like sat with all the way. What?
It's not a contest,
No, I know, but it's interesting to me that other people aren't.
But if it was a contest, If it was,
Oh,
a
I win. Yeah.
The you mentioned the like more like Mitch, you're talking about the kind of jamming and really just kind of going down on something like the House of Ideas. I when I was listening to that, I was like reminded of, you know, Uniform, and then come to find when reading that, like I think it was like Quietus article, it was like, oh, dude's on the track. That's great. I think Swindle and I saw Thou perform with there was like the tour of Thou. It was Thou, Uniform, Converge, and Full of Hell, and there was like this part of Uniform set where he was like, Michael was like, all right, everybody like do a pit, and then it went on like this droning part for like what, like 10 it felt like forever, and all these kids just getting tired out.
Yeah, but as time went on, they just like the moshing like completely died down because people were like expecting it to explode, and then as it just kept going, people were like, all right, so like when is it going to be over though? Like when is it going to explode? I legitimately love that about your song.
That's actually interesting. That's interesting you say that, because now I'm thinking we need to modify the end of House of Ideas when we play it live and keep that show part going. And just never slam into the end riff.
Not one time.
Right.
Or do it or go into the end riff but do it clean. You know?
I like that as a sort of metaphor for Thou in general. Like, when is it over? When is this gonna be? When does it explode?
And indeed. When do we get our breakthrough?
If this isn't it, then it's not gonna happen.
I got bad news for you, brother. I don't think this.
Well, if y'all do blow up from this, at least you know you have another album's worth of lyrics after that. Just write an album about how you blew up.
That's true. Absolutely. That would be another.
I always think that Thou like hits this plateau every couple of years. I'm like, all right, we've done everything a band that sounds like us can do. And then we get like Tiny Desk or Roadburn's like, hey, come be the artist in residence. And like all this stuff keeps happening that's like destroying my expectations. And then you see a band like Full of Hell, way more aggressive and weirder than we are. And they're like some Billboard top thing they were posting about, like top vinyl sales in the country or something.
That's because they're young and attractive. They're
young and hot. They are young and hot. That's true.
We're old news, baby. It's over. The dream's dead.
But also their album, I don't know if it's just something in the air. Everybody's sick of playing like straight heavy music, but their new album is like way poppier too, way more accessible, you know, in the Full of Hell lens. I wonder if there's just like this big turn happening all over the place. I hope. I hate heavy music.
What did Spencer say? I think I read an interview where Spencer was like, yeah, I wanted to see if like what would Butthole Surfers sound at like playing Grind or something like that. Yeah. I'm like, hell yeah. All right, we're getting it. But you know, I really wanted to know too, like how did that relationship with Michael form as far as like, all right, was it for the secret project or was it for the record? Or were you just like hashing stuff out together or?
We're just friends with those dudes, but yeah, when I was working on that, when me and James were working on that electronic thing, I was sort of like getting different people who I knew could just give me like a thing, like a riff or a piece of something or whatever, to just send us stuff that we could take a little thing and then we could build it into something. And so he basically sent a folder full of stuff, but we pulled two things, and one of the things was like the outro, that whole outro piece on House of Ideas is like from a thing that he gave us that we then like kind of straightened out into a piece. And then I think Matthew actually came into the studio one day and like wrote the little chuggy guitar thing to go over it. And we have like an electronic / chuggy guitar version of it.
Yeah, actually, I listened to that first demo recently. The way that I learned that melody at the end, I'm playing it wrong. Actually,
it's definitely different.
Yeah, it's like a little different because I think
they're both good.
But
I like that it's not exactly the same though.
Me too. I got to inject my own flavor of doing it wrong in there.
There's a similar like for the one Lonely Vigil. Like that was another one from that batch of electronic stuff where like I call it electronic, but it's not like that. Like when me and James built that song, we basically had Matthew come in the studio one day and just like shit out riffs for like 10 or 20 minutes, just whatever he came to mind. And then we went through that and would kind of pull out stuff and we organized it into like a song, but that one's what, like probably like two riffs from that. We just kind of like
it is
played around with. Yeah. And then I think Liam on the demo, I think maybe Liam from Mismer, like the kind of black metal thing, I think Liam might have written that or come up with that part. Cause that was kind of how the Mismer thing came about was, I recruited Liam to like give me some stuff.
Oh.
And then he was like, well, he wrote a couple of pieces guitar stuff that we used in the electronic thing. And then he was like, oh, I'm writing all this acoustic stuff that I've been posting on Instagram. Would y'all want to like maybe work on flesh some of that out, like do like an actual record together or something? And we just kind of snowballed it from there.
Was Liam, was he kind of at least somewhat instrumental in the way this record sounds as well? Like it seemed like through reading that article, he maybe kind of, hey, you guys should perhaps, I don't know, kind of blow it up and go back to the start.
In the sense that like when we did Myopia, he was trying to bring us back to like the peasant era Thou, which is like where he came at Thou, the riff centric, like just like straight doomy sludge stuff.
More traditional sounding, yeah.
Right. And so I think like just that idea of having that sort of like aggression, that sort of transferred into this. But I mean, it's weird. The umbilical stuff's weird because it predates, like that was the first thing we started working on after COVID, after lockdown. And then it kind of got sidetracked with Myopia and Norco. And then we came back to it. And yeah, I mean, maybe it had somewhat of an effect on a couple of songs.
It definitely did. It definitely did for me, like as far as like the influence in the way that I wrote, because I think that like doing the record with Liam was really like, well, for one, I think having his take on what our band, like his take on what our band sounds like was an interesting thing for me, and sort of validating in the way of like, I don't know, like I got really sick of writing traditional Thou songs, and I think doing that record gave me permission to write more in the traditional Thou style, with the understanding that it's like we're doing this sort of like almost like homage to what we used to do. And to me, writing that record out, I was like, all right, this is as conservative as I will ever get with a Thou record, like in terms of it's not very experimental. It's very like by the numbers in a good way. And I think that like doing that record, I was like, all right, I don't want to do any, like, this is the final say. This is the final thing I have to say on like extremely usual Thou riff stuff. So like, but out of that process, because we were writing Umbilical at the same time and a little before and after, I think some of that seeped in. Like Siege Perilous is a good example of that. Like, I think if we hadn't done Myopia, I probably wouldn't have wanted that last, or even really all of Siege Perilous. I would have been like, I would have thrown that out before even bringing it to practice, because it would have been just too by the numbers,
Well, Siege Perilous was also way different when you brought it, because that's the one we call slow down song, right? Because
yeah. Right, yeah. It was like it was up tempo.
When you brought it to practice, it was a lot faster, and we were like, coming off Myopia, we were like, oh, let's just slow it down.
Yeah, because that's what Liam said about everything we did. Literally everything we brought to the table. He was like, yeah, what if we just slow that down? So now we were kind of in a rut with Umbilical, and like, like we had a few songs, people were kind of like, whatever about them. So we're just like, all right, well, what happens if we just slow it down? Or vice versa, speed it up. So like, I think that definitely informed some of this, as simple and dumb as that sounds. What if we just
I mean, the other part of it too is like we were also writing for these three records kind of concurrently.
Yeah,
like we had a board in the practice space that had columns that were like Umbilical, Mismer, Norco, ? And then we'd write a song and we'd kind of be like, is this one that Liam might like? Let's put it in the Mismer column maybe. And then there's stuff like, this isn't umbilical, but it's not really. We'll put it in the question mark column. So it was like we were putting stuff kind of all over the place. I think when Liam came, we probably showed him a bunch of stuff, and I feel like there was one or two in the Liam column that he didn't like.
No, there were actually, and I think actually Siege Perilous could have been one of them, or at least the first take of it. But I remember that too because the one of the two that I wrote for Myopia, second track, I can't remember the names, but
was it Andy Five Riffs?
Yeah, Andy Five Riffs. Yeah, I can't remember what the title was. That one was I was envisioning that as just a regular Thou song, and then he's like, no, let's use that one for. So yeah, all that shit was flying around around the same time. That's how we've done things a lot of the time.
He definitely dismissed mine. I brought a track. I was like, man, this is going to be perfect. I can't believe I'm going to have one on this black metal album. I think this fits. And I showed it. He's like, yeah, I don't know if that's for this album. I was like, all right.
Wait, what song was it?
I don't know. Y'all liked it. But I think we moved on and like never went back to it.
You remember how to play it?
No. Long gone.
Lost time.
You got to start videoing yourself, man.
Well, Mitch, you wrote a song for this record, correct? Like at least that got on.
I brought a couple. Yeah, there were some riffs, but it changed dramatically over a couple practices and became way better than what I, showed everybody. House of Ideas was that like the last half it's like the riffy part. It was fast, and then Brian's like, let's slow it down. And I was like, I really don't want to slow it down. I wrote it with the intention of like everybody having a solo, Tyler having a solo, like everybody gets to shred on this part. I really want that to be a thing. And then we figured out a way to like get it all in there.
Tyler got a solo in a different song. He got a solo in The Message, kind of, right?
He did.
So he kind of gets a solo in like almost every one of these songs.
That's the point of this record. To me, that was like the first thing we said. Let's let Tyler go crazy.
Him? No,
He's a machine.
I don't believe it.
I know.
Hedgehog. Is that a Hedgehog. Working title for one of the songs? Correct? Is it the first teaser?
I feel nothing when you cry. Yeah, that's Hedgehog because it was the fastest. Well, it was like a marathon to chug it and play it. It was, Sonic the Hedgehog.
There's a couple songs on here, and I know we've talked about it a little bit off air as far as like, when we'll look at lyrics to a record, we'll, look at it and kind of see like, all right, what is this? How is this making me feel? Or like, how do I interpret this? But then I also kind of like fucking put on my magnifying glass. And I'm like, all right, what's Brian referencing here? And, I'm a Rock in a Sea of Chaos. Is that from Law and Order?
It is from Law and Order. Okay. Yeah, how did you find it? What you Google?
I just Googled a bunch of shit.
I wanted to sample that. I couldn't find the episode. I would have sampled it from Law and Order.
If anybody cares, if anybody's listening, season 18, episode 11, Betrayal. A wife accused of shooting her husband therapist or something like that.
It's all we watch when we're on tour.
Really?
That one episode.
That's a line someone says in
like apparently over and over again.
Law and Order.
Yeah, she's like in a cult. She's in like in a cult or sort of indoctrinated by a psychiatrist or something.
It's funny because when Austin Googled that, I was like, I mean, I don't know, but Brian doesn't really seem like a Law and Order kind of guy. And then in like some press release, you were like, the chant from this song comes from, the ghost of some terrible television show or whatever the press release said. And I like texted Austin. I was like, oh my God, you were fucking right.
I'm gonna blow this thing wide open. I mean, because there's times where I'm like, there's like a particular line that'll stick out. Like I think it was "Immorality Dictates," where I'm like, the line in the end of that, I don't know, and then it would end up being a Split Ends song, correct? Perhaps like
it is a Split Ends song, but I mean, I knew the line because it's in like a Pearl Jam medley, like live medley or something at the end of like Daughter. They're like jamming at the end of Daughter and. I think Eddie Vedder was like a Split Ends fan or something, so that there's like him riffing on it or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of shit like that. I mean, that's like I was saying before, like that's like sometimes that's how I'll build a song is I'll find a line that I like, and then I'll sort of like build the whole song around that line. And then a lot of times like the line won't even make it, whatever I built the thing around doesn't even make it into the final thing anymore. It just gets cut. But I mean, this sometimes I'll keep that stuff. Umbilical was like one where I leaned into that stuff real hard because that's like how I like when I first joined. I was way more into that, having little Easter eggs like the
Sure.
snippets like that. I don't know. It's like hip hop or like Determined or whatever.
We wouldn't know about it. We usually don't even know, like, especially in the early days. Now I just assume everything's stolen, but in the early days we didn't know. So it would be like when I would go to read a review of an album and I'd be like, oh, is that what that is? I didn't even know.
To hear that you took a thing basically from someone who took a thing is also like kind of blowing my mind a little bit. And then of course, I think it was mentioned in that interview with the Mighty Boosh as well, which I didn't realize you, was it college radio that you did, or was it just like a radio station that you worked for a little bit, or you did like a show?
I did Tulane as a college radio station that I did it. I had a show, the punk show when I moved back here after Katrina, and then I did it again. I came back during COVID. They were doing like can shows where you kind of pre-record it and just play it or whatever. So it was real. I didn't have to go to the station anymore. It was real easy. So I was doing it for a while.
What was the name of it? Your
the
college
WTUL 91.5 FM New Orleans.
What was your show called, or rather?
The World of Punk.
There you go. I like it. You still do it, or
it's like a tradition. All the shows are like the World of Jazz, the world blah blah blah. So like,
okay.
When I was in high school, some people we knew did the World of Punk, and then it like changed hands a few times.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
I just try to keep the tradition alive.
The one other thing I wanted to mention about I Feel Nothing When You Cry, I think, Andy, I saw that you had kind of maybe wanted to have the same vibe of Bodies, Smashing Pumpkins.
I learned that song. I'd been listening to I'm kind of always listening to Melancholy, but I'd been listening to it a lot at that time. And I heard that song, and I mean, I think I was just bored at home, and in a period of like, I would hear a song I thought was cool, and I'd kind of like learn the riff to see how it worked, and playing it, I was like, oh, this is like so fun to play. This would be a sick cover. Like, this would be an insane cover for us to do. But I'm kind of sick of covers, and we're not really doing anything right now except for just writing for the record. So I just took the rhythm of it. Basically, it's got essentially the same rhythm, and I realized that was a rhythmic feel that we had never done a song in before. So I thought for Tyler it would be interesting, so that he wouldn't just have to play like another sludgy 4/4 beat. I mean, it's 4/4, but I just thought it'd be like a different. I'm like kind of in the process of still like searching for like new rhythmic stuff, because I think Matthew and I both tend to just write kind of in the same rhythmic style, and you can kind of guess where the riffs are going and how the rhythm. It's like, I don't know. It's hard to ride the line between quintessentially thou and pushing it forward to something interesting. So I think that's where that comes about.
That's my favorite song on the record, I think. And it's funny to hear. I mean, you told us that whenever you brought us the song, but you wrote that in the same way Brian does the lyrics. Oh, here's this thing I like. I'm going to take that and turn it in this way.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, if nothing else than just the feel. I mean, it kind of, there's a little bit of, you can hear a little bit of the same guitar type stuff happening there, but yeah, more or less. I thought it'd be a good way to tell Tyler basically. I was like, instead of being like, play this, I'm like, here's the vibe that I'm thinking for this,
Well, I guess maybe even like fast forward to Panic Stricken I Flee. I mean, that's the angry chair melody, right, Brian?
Well, that's what Andy, when I asked him, I couldn't figure out how to do the vocal melody, and I asked Andy like, oh, how should it go? He said, oh, well, I can't remember how he phrased it. I think he phrased it in a way that was like, think angry chair, that style. But when I read the text or something, I just read it as like, do angry chair. And then I also mixed up the parts he was talking about, because I think he was talking about just for the chorus, and I was hearing for the I got the verse and the chorus mixed up, and so I just kind of did that.
I have
And
the text in front of me. It says,
you still have the text.
I have the text. Yeah, it says the cadence I had in mind for the verse is something like Angry Chair. But you thought the verse was the
Yeah, I got confused about what was the verse and what was the chorus, but I think does it sound like Angry Chair?
I think so, guys.
I don't know how I think it depends on how familiar you are with Angry Chair.
I'm pretty familiar with Angry Chair.
I mean I am too, but I'm glad that it wasn't Man in the Box or something, because that would be too shameless, I think.
Maybe we have to go in on we did Dirt. We did an episode on or not Dirt.
Jar Flies.
Yeah, we did Jar Flies. So maybe we'll have to.
I just finished the Bandsplain episode on Alice in Chains.
Oh, sick!
Which was incredible. Loved it.
I gotta check that out.
You should.
So the lyrics for Umbilical are kind of like about the band, is like a very vague way of saying it. And in other interviews, Brian, you said that like some of your lyrics are like stuff that have happened to you or the band, but it's always from like what y'all could have done better in like whatever situation. Does everyone else in the band, like, do you make it a point to tell people in the band that the lyrics are like about them ever?
I'm trying to get them to, is that Matthew?
Yeah, look at that.
I'm trying to get this record. I'm trying to get them to guess which song's about
I'm gonna go get my stuff. Take over.
Matthew.
Can you get my
hello? Hi, Matthew Thudium.
Can you get my guitar too, please?
Which song on Umbilical he thinks about you?
Wait, what?
Which song on Umbilical do you think is about you?
First off, the lyrics.
No.
Yeah.
I've heard Brian sing them a bunch of times, but I haven't listened to them per se. There's one about me.
Yeah.
There's one about everyone, allegedly.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I guess I would have to know the lyrics to know which one was about me.
None of the songs are about anybody. That it's just,
Why are
just
y'all? I just got here. Now y'all are already.
it's just in a very vague like critique of us as people. I think us the way we handle like the band in a more like social sense, but I mean, it's not even real. I mean, that's like I'll take like a idea or feeling about one thing, and that's like the seed for the song, and then it just kind of goes from there. So it's not really.
He's walking it back. Damage control.
I mean, I'm intimidating, so you don't want me to know.
That's what I was gonna say. That
which ones? Yeah,
was intimidating. You missed it, Matthew. We were just talking about Alice in Chains right before you showed up. By the way,
my favorite band.
I have a live video I need to send to you. By the way, I meant to do it today, but I got a live video you're gonna like.
All right,
of Alice in Chains.
Yeah, there's this video. It's them playing like a 600 cap room in Eugene, Oregon, like a month before Dirt came out. It's insane. Like just a small. It looks like a VFW hall almost. it's fun.
I will watch it.
Cool.
Can't wait.
I kept thinking when Mitch was in there, he was just sitting at his house. I didn't realize y'all are James's.
Yeah, they're in the studio. It looks like.
Yep.
Oh damn! More big garden.
Yeah. We are big gardening right now, or we're about to.
You can see a taste of the legendary Hightower Studios where we're our stuff. You see how glamorous.
It's beautiful.
There's a cat. There's a couch right there.
Nice.
It's a good couch.
Are y'all recording Big Garden right now, or are y'all just practicing?
We're just practicing for a show on Friday. So nothing serious. It's gonna suck. No big deal.
How do you feel about Umbilical, Matthew?
Really good. It's the record I contributed the least amount to.
Is that why you feel good, or is that?
No, I think that's probably why it's so good. So I really like it. I haven't listened to it in the correct order or anything yet, but I really like all the songs, and I'm proud of it. So,
hell yeah.
What do they think about it? What do the other two Thou people think about it? What did they say?
I like it.
They said
I'm gonna watch this eventually. So yeah.
they
do
said
Andy and Brian like it?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. What I was saying what I was saying is that because you usually have that like centerpiece song, like Free Will, By Endurance, like since we didn't have those, it's been hard for me to gauge where this record sits in the pantheon, you know? And trying it doesn't have like a center of gravity in the same way as some other records yet. So I think maybe I just need to like digest it as a record instead of digesting it as a collection of songs that we've been playing. So
it's the newest. That's all you need.
well, Matthew, though, you've said like our entire lives that if a band's latest record isn't their best, then they suck and they've fallen off.
I have, and which means that's kind of on like you mostly, since you
right,
I wrote the songs. I mean, Brian's going to be solid, at all times. So it's going to be. Well, Mitch wrote like two songs.
75% of one song.
Okay, so it's also his fault.
Did you write the music for the first track, Narcissist Prayer? Was that your song?
That's your song. Yeah.
That's my song. Yes.
He doesn't know the titles or the track.
I don't know the actual titles.
It's called Matthew Song.
Oh, perfect.
Is that the one that's about me, perhaps?
I don't know. Check out the lyrics.
Okay, I will. Then yes, I wrote the music, and then I think we all kind of formed it into whatever it is now. So yeah.
For better or worse.
Is Derek on that track too? Derek's been kind of collaborated with y'all for a long time.
Yeah, Derek's on that one, huh?
He's on that track.
Yeah, he does.
I didn't even know that.
He does the opening, right? The opening, like
and the stuff.
Okay.
I think maybe some stuff.
Yeah, the cries. Yeah, the cries.
Yeah, I mean his vocals sound so much like mine. Sometimes just like a little bit higher that it's like I think hard to tell, but yeah, he's on that. He's on. There's an 11th track that we cut that he's on that track a bunch too.
Was Derek in was he in bands? I know he like done some like filming work. I know I think I saw where he filmed like was it the title track from the City of Caterpillar record? Maybe the music video for that.
He did some music. He did a City Caterpillar music video. He did a Silver Godling video. He just did one for Avery. What's Avery? Avery Island. Is that what it's? Is that what it's called? And
he just did a movie.
Yeah, the Fountain Blue short, which is like that spot right where Matthew's sitting. There's some scenes in there. No, he was in like a folk punk band that I think he's real embarrassed about. That I know he's embarrassed about because we were talking about yesterday.
Should be.
He's in Reclaim Life, huh?
And
was he?
Wasn't he briefly in Reclaim? He was very briefly in like a vegan straight edge hardcore band. Unsurprisingly.
Playing at me? That's more his style, is like to be in a sort of like '90s, mid-'90s sounding vegan straight. Me and him.
That's more Brian's style, also.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Earth Crisis.
Yeah, we've talked with
Sean.
We talked with Sean of Coalesce, changed his life, and then hated it, or let's I don't know.
We have that Coalesce that snippet from that song and the lyric in the liner notes of this record.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, there's a line from Harvest of Maturity that's like the little monogram or whatever. I think at the beginning of Narcissist Prayer.
I can't wait to get it. I mean, I have gotten it because this comes out later. I don't know why I just thought of this because we were talking about the different bands. But Andy, I have to. You got to tell me what the thought process behind this band was. You were in like some band I read on Discogs when we were doing some of these the series where it was like just a mashup of like rockabilly and thrash and like what was the name of this band?
Spring Break Shark Attack.
Yeah.
Well, initially it was Shark Attack, then we found out there was another.
Shark Attack.
Yeah.
No, the reason that band became is because Matthew and I used to be real big Man or Astro Man fans. I don't know if y'all know that band. Still killer band, but they're ostensibly a surf band that like does a bunch of experimental shit. But in any case, that kind of got me into surf, and at the time, like that was like I guess right around when Val started. So I'm like, all right, I have this like ultra serious band. I just want to do something fun, and live with my friend Eric at the time, and he was way down. He was like, dude, if we start a surf band, I'll go buy a guitar and an amp. I'll book us shows. I know 2 other guys who are ready to play this. We could just do this. And it ended up being so fun. It was just like something to do for fun. And it ended up like we did a lot. We used to play all the fucking time, and people would actually come out to see us and like go nuts. And like our friends would like dress up, and like at our final show, Brian shot me in the eye with a water gun. Yeah, it was just like super fun.
I came to that show, and I had like a school bag I filled up with water guns, and right before they played, I went and filled them up with water and was passing them out in the audience. So everybody had water guns, and I had like beach balls I was throwing. I meant to bring those like pool noodles.
Oh god.
I was thinking, oh, what are the pool noodles? People like hitting each other with the pool noodles, and
Man,
yeah, that's fun.
Just sounds like a drain show now. Like Matthew, were you in that band as well, or were you in a different band with Andy?
I was real mad that I wasn't in Spring Break Shark Attack, so I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. But I did see them a bunch. They were awesome. It was good. And Eric actually named Thou.
Oh, did
he? He came up with the name for Thou.
I remember we were at a party together. I remember him being there. We were like at some house party, just like drinking and smoking weed, and I think the name I had was like I was like, what if we named the band Lord? And
okay.
I thought it was you, Matthew, but I guess maybe it was Eric that turned around and was like, no, Thou. And we were like,
it was Eric. It was.
We were
Eric.
like, yeah, that's the one. That's
there it is. It's the classic music bio where it's just like, that's it. Wow, holy shit.
Now Mitch is over here like sending me like doing this to me. Like he's right. He's a tyrant.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of y'all's time. I know we've been going at it.
Brian and I are just hanging out. We're in for the long
haul.
haul.
I don't care.
I feel like we haven't even got
about them.
interview yet.
Yeah, we gotta go through all the records. We're gonna go through every record again.
Here we go. 4 hours.
I made a timeline so I can answer some questions.
You can go if you need to, though, Matthew. You don't have to be obligated. I know you love doing interviews.
It was fun. I never do it. Thank y'all.
Appreciate.
Thank you,
thank
man.
you for stopping by.
Giving it back to Mitch. Love you.
Fuck you too. How did he do?
But also,
he did great.
Now that he can't hear us, fuck Matthew. Never cared.
All right. We got to start practice, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Can't wait to listen to the rest. Thank you. I'm also planned this a little bit to get Matthew to come. I texted him. I'm in the room. Say hey to everybody, because he never does this. Did y'all talk about that a little bit?
We did. We talked.
I wish he did more. All right. See y'all next time.
See you
tomorrow.
See you.
See you tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Tomorrow morning. Yeah, tomorrow morning. Bye.
And now that Mitch is gone, we can really say what we think.
Well, I mean, as far as the timeline goes, I know one thing we were certainly curious about was fucking 2007 was massively busy for y'all. It seemed like you were recording like constantly that year.
I think that I just had the wrong date on the Peasant record, because I think it's actually 2008 when we recorded the Peasant.
Oh, okay.
I think the record said it can't be 2007. It had, because it would have predated.
Yeah.
Us
the
doing
release of Peasant.
So the way I figured it out is that I joined in early 2007. I can't quite. I was trying. You said it was after We Need to Talk show. Is that?
Yeah, we played a show at the.
Yeah, but it couldn't have been after We Need to Talk show because Terry didn't have cymbals.
Oh, good point.
And it would have been your cymbals. So like we would have had cymbals, right?
Well, no. I think he was supposed to bring cymbals and he just forgot them, I think was the deal. And I borrowed someone else's drum kit because I didn't own a drum kit. I didn't even own cymbals at the time.
I thought it was like after that, me and him
calling us.
But I went and looked at that show list for that, and y'all didn't play that. So it might have just been a show that I didn't put on.
The reasoning though was that we need, like, Brian had said he would join the band, and we were like, all right, well, we need to like practice with this dude and see if he can, see if he can fucking handle our tune, like they say. We do. Can you handle our tune? And so, yeah, after this show that was at the Green Project, this place in the Bywater, we like met, but Terry didn't have a cymbals, so I think we played "Fucking Chained" maybe or something like that because that was already a song, and we just did it without the cymbals. But if I remember correctly, also the PA wasn't awesome or perfect, and
everything about the situation was terrible. It
sounded like trash. Yeah, everything.
I could not believe that after we did that, y'all were like, "Yeah, let's do it." It was terrible. It was bad. So okay, so I joined early 2007. The first show I played with y'all was May of 2007, and then we toured June of 2007.
Yeah,
and when I joined, Tyrant was done. Like the record was recorded. I just had to go put vocals on it.
Yeah.
And then September 2007, we did a West Coast tour. And that's when we recorded most of like the Oakland stuff when we had a day off in Oakland. And then I think we recorded Peasant April 2008. So it would have been, what's that? Like 9 months, would have been about 9 months after we did the Oakland stuff.
So I know this. I remember specifically we got the Peasant CDs from Autopsy Kitchen when we were in Chicago on that 6-week tour in the summer of 2008. So if we did record that in April 2008,
it was a quick turn. It was a
really good turnaround.
Well, I remember we wrote it super. It seemed like we wrote it real fast because we knew we had this 6-week tour coming up, and we were trying to get it written, recorded, and then have the record in time for that tour. That's how early days of Thou, like that was the big thing is, we got a tour. We got to hurry up and get this thing done for tour, and then half the time we wouldn't. And we did all kinds of goofball shit the first couple tours where like, we'd have a part of a record and we'd take down somebody's address. And then at the end of the tour, we'd mail, okay, well, you have the record, but you didn't get the jacket. Now we're going to mail you the jacket.
Hell yeah. So stupid. My God.
It was the stupidest thing.
One of the dumbest things we did.
I mean, but this was the thing. When I first joined Thou, it was like, I didn't think the band was going to last more than a couple of years. So it was like, there was an urgency to like, feel like a legitimate band, have records and CDs and stuff when you go on tour and like have it available. So there was always this like urgency when we were doing a thing like this is the only thing we're going to do. We have to have the thing for this tour or whatever.
But it's also that, we, in terms of it looking like we did so much writing, like Brian said, like we wrote Tyrant, the majority of it in like 2005, like it was already, I have demos from 2005 in like random people's living rooms that we recorded. So like a lot of that work had already been done. So like by the time Brian came on, we were already writing the next, like not stuff that ended up on Peasant, but stuff that ended up on the splits and stuff like Smoke Pigs. We wrote like right before Brian joined.
Well, that first show that I played with y'all played, we played the set, and then y'all played Hooves without me.
Yeah.
I hadn't even heard it yet. And y'all like, we're gonna play an instrumental, and it was Hooves, like the instrumental version of Hooves.
Yeah. We just had a bunch of shit already because Tyrant in our minds was past, like we were, already done with it. We were able to start focusing on the new stuff. So we were like way ahead of the game when Brian joined. basically. So that's what helps it look like we did.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So we record Peasant April 2008, then we tour June 2008, and then we record all the Rendon stuff January 2009. So that was like in terms of like us kind of stepping it up, to me, that was the point where we sort of like, because that was like 6 months, and I think we did like 12 or 13 songs that we recorded in that weekend or whatever. It was something like insane for us. And that like when we did that and we got through it and we like had that became like the touchstone for us, where that was like the bar we set. Oh, we did all this shit on Rendon. Like, and at that point, like every recording session felt like we had to like outdo ourselves.
Yeah, we never went in and recorded a record. We went in and recorded everything we needed to record.
Yeah, I think it was like Heathen and the Body Thing and the Sacrifice all in the same session.
All in one session. Which, by the way, like that's the other thing is like in one session means we would probably only booked like what, a week at most, if that.
Well, yeah, probably 5 days, but like by our standard, that's like extravagant.
That's really long by our standards.
I mean, the Ren stuff, I think we did in like 2 days or maybe 3 days or something. Maybe I came in on the third day, did vocals on the third day or something.
Yeah, so it's like 13 songs in 2 days or something. Yeah.
But that's wild for us. But like that week, the crazier thing is that James that weekend, because James flew in, he was living in Oakland at the time, and he flew in. It's called Rendon because we recorded it in like 2 or 3 different practice spaces in our old spot that was on Rendon Street. And he didn't just record our shit. He recorded the Rhinosaur record that same weekend. He recorded that Chopsley record that we never put out that weekend. And I think something else while we were in there.
Jesus.
We played Life for somebody. He was like a man. I mean, this is bad. He's less of a maniac now, but I mean, back then he was like a total machine with the recording. So he would just do it all night.
But it was also like when we did the Rendon stuff, we didn't do practically any overdubbing or any shit like that. It was like, we banged it out. And that's why it's kind of hard for me to listen to some of those recordings, because it's definitely like, all right, that takes good enough. Let's do it. So like, there's like a shitload of mistakes on that record in my mind. It's hard to, our record on those songs from that session. It's just like, some of it's hard for me to listen to.
Well, I mean, some of it certainly sounds like, I don't know, maybe for lack of a better term, like jammy, I guess. There's like certainly more of like
we got a little out there.
And speaking of like a maniac thing, I think Swindle and or like when we talked about it, at least in the episode, Andy, I know you lived out in California, as we mentioned, like, your practice sessions or writing sessions, like for, fucking hours and hours at a time, really, just because, do you guys only really put things together when you're in the room, or how does that typically work?
We've tried sending stuff back and forth.
Yeah, it just didn't really work. And I think if we were to do that now, maybe we could do it. But back then, like, I didn't have any kind of like good recording setup even to capture the stuff. And they didn't really have the means to like go and add to it and all that stuff. It just wasn't really. And also just, we had been working, the way we had worked up until that point was practice every week, go back to whatever song we're in the middle of writing, finish it, start the next one. We have like maybe 3 songs we need to finish. Let's knock out all 3. It was every week we practiced thing. Like, so moving, it was like, all right, well, we have to cram however many months of practice into like this weekend. And that's still not too far off from how we do it, or how we've done like the Emma record, for instance. Like, all right, well, how many days can Emma be here? Okay, Emma can be here for 5 days. We need to write as many songs as we can possibly write and then do demos of them or whatever. And that's how we did it. So same deal in the space for like 12 hours or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, Umbilical, all this stuff. I mean, we with Umbilical, Norco, and the Mismer stuff, mainly Umbilical and the Mismer stuff, like we kind of got in the habit of going down the hall to James's at the end of the night or at the end of a session, and just like banging out a demo of stuff, so we had a reference. So if we put it down for a month or 2 months, we had something we could kind of go back to and oh, okay, we made these changes, or it sounds like this, or this is like kind of what we're trying to do. So like, and that's good and bad for us.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, there's definitely some burnout that happens after a full day of writing uh and then going straight there and spending the next couple hours setting up, getting a good enough sound and then laying the demos down. And then you come home and you go to bed and you wake up and you do it all over again. Like it's pretty fucking exhausting.
But see, I don't know about you, but like for me, I mean, maybe this is because I'm just not playing the whole time or whatever. But like, I like that about the process sometimes. Like Heathen was probably the worst of that kind of shit for me because like when we finished Heathen, it was like Andy left and we only had like half the record written, maybe not even half, and then the rest of us kept practicing every week and like got a handful more songs, sort of a few more songs. And then Annie came back and I think had one or two songs and then had to learn all the stuff. We had to basically learn all that stuff. But we had like it was basically like I think like 5 days of practice every day before we go into the studio for 5 days. And we basically had to like finish writing Heathen. And the last 3 days, we were jamming with Chip and Lee to write the first Body collab, which we didn't even have. I don't think we had any. We just like, oh, we'll just get together and figure it out. And then kind of hash out all the stuff. That was the sacrifice, which we weren't really even sure. I think up until we recorded, I don't know if we were quite sure
What was going to be on the record?
was going to go, yeah, if like Pill was going to go on Heathen, or if we're going to pull it or whatever. So like that was insane. I was like, because I remember driving up. I'm in New Orleans, so drive an hour and a half to Baton Rouge in the morning or like midday, and then we practice for 8-10 hours or something stupid. Then I would drive home, go to sleep, get up the next day, and go. But I didn't want to stay out there. I could have stayed, but I was like, nah. But I liked it. I mean, it felt like it was like totally exhausting. It felt like boot camp or something, but it was like kind of like the exhaustion of me is like kind of fun. I know you hate it, but like it's just
I used to not hate it.
When we did the Cloud Rat tour and that West Coast tour with Cloud Rat where we had matinees like almost every day. We were 2 shows a day, almost every day. It was like total exhaustion. But I love it's like there's no time, there's no like downtime to be like, oh, I'm so bored, blah, blah, blah. It was just constant. It was the only downtime is when you go to sleep.
In the van.
Right.
On the way to the show.
Yeah, on the way to the show.
How did James Whitten react to like the sound of this new record? Like it seemed like Heathen and Magus and maybe even like the Emma collab were like a little cleaner and like less distortion, but how did he react when y'all were like, we actually want this to sound like nasty?
Well, I think he's
surprisingly down.
He was down, but I think that's because we've slowly primed him for this moment because historically we'll have some crazy idea and he's like, that's not gonna work. Let me tell you how that's not gonna work. But like starting with, I think House Primordial was really like when we did that record, he was down to really get weird with some of the sounds on that. And so I think that by that point he was like, all right, well, if we do something that's more like that, I see how, like, I think he figured out how it could work and how the mix could still sound clean enough to where it didn't sound like a lo-fi. Well, I don't know. Some people thought it sounded lo-fi, but how it could still sound like you could still hear every element. So I think it's just a matter of his skill improving alongside ours to like figure out how to get our shit across. Because to my mind, yeah, like Umbilical definitely, as I spend more time away from it, I understand how it does sound like a lot more abrasive sonically than a lot of other stuff. But it's not so different. And the bass layer basically is still like our usual bass layer is there of the same, not identical, but almost identical, like guitar, bass, drum sounds as we would usually use. that's all pretty much on the record. It's just piling shit on top of that, basically, and taking those sounds and running them through filters and having a send channel with, a bunch of distortion that everything's being fed into alongside the regular channels. Like the bass layer is still there. That sounds like a regular Thou record. And then we just kind of like dial it up from there.
I mean, it's also so much more reined in than our original plans for it. Like, I think we were originally thinking we were going to push it a lot further, and then we sort of reined that in. And then it's also reined in from the first mixes James did. There was like a lot more electronic elements and weird mixing elements that we kind of pulled back.
Yeah, we had some. I don't know if it was a straight up 808, but there's something like a straight up distorted 808 along every single kick. It didn't sound not with the long tail on it or anything.
Oh yeah.
But still, it was like a solid like punch in the face sub bass hit with every. He just basically took the kick drum, turned it into a MIDI track, and then put an to where. But when we got the mixes, Tyler was like, "This is a little much." Ended up reining it in.
We got to ease Tyler into it.
Yeah, Tyler's not eased into the abrasive as we want it thing yet. Next record, sure.
I do like that it is kind of like maybe that collective type of thing where you guys have been really, James or even like James Plotkin, and it's clear having listened to these records and discussing them and dissecting them that there's like, you've been working with each other, I don't know, on and off for the better part of a decade or more. So like to see that growth from here to now is pretty crazy. I wanted to, there was I guess what makes James and maybe even James Plotkin like the perfect collaborators for stuff like this? I mean, is it just really, a comfort thing? I mean, obviously there's a connection there. What makes them such like a great group of guys to like be a part of the Thou sound, I guess? I
mean, we've been saying James Whitten's like the sixth member of Thou for years, like the sort of secret member, just because he's been there for so long in terms of the recording stuff. I mean, he's like my friend from high school. We've known each other since I was like 15. Yeah, he recorded my first band when he was like doing 4-track and 8-track stuff. So like, I've known him since he started recording stuff.
But he's just extremely easy to work with. Really the main, not just that, obviously like he's a professional and really truly knows his stuff inside and out, but he's just super easy to work with and like gets what we're trying to do. We don't have to like explain it too hard for him, especially at this point. I mean, at this point, it's just like he's already got everything set up kind of the way we usually like it, and then we go from there. So I mean, it's really a matter of a comfort with him just being like kind of a laid back person who's down to like do the insane shit that we want to do and spend the amount of hours. And
he'll definitely put in the hours
and offer us the price that he'll offer us also.
I mean, that was a huge thing too. I mean, he barely wouldn't take money from us for like the longest time.
But I mean, yeah, and even before James, like the reason why we used Brennan and Michael Talley on the first two records, Brennan's just a friend of mine from like middle school who lived in Baton Rouge and was like always the recording guy in my bands growing up. He's neither of those guys are really like heavy music guys, which is why those records like sound a little different, because like Matthew and I were just like presenting them with some weird shit, and especially when Brian went to record with them, they hadn't recorded like harsh vocals before, so like that's kind of why that's especially Peasant kind of sounds the way it does. Plus we just smoked too much weed and over mixed the record, and that's why the snare sounds like it sounds.
I mean, I think that's part of James's strength too with us, because I think his like default style of how he records and mixes bands is this very like kind of standard rock sound to it. And I think that is part of what has always set our records a little bit apart, maybe from like a lot of the more traditional metal sounding stuff that's maybe recorded by an engineer that like is overly, I mean, not that James isn't. I mean, James has the same taste as me in terms of like hard. I mean, I got a Coalesce record on hold for him back here. So like we got this, we have the same taste in like musical references, but like his style of recording isn't quite like that. It's like a more like produced. I mean, at least that's like what like the direction that's always kind of like keeps going into me.
It really seems like he could do it all. I mean, we just finished up our, you know, episode on Magus, and, you know, with whether it's like something like, you know, Umbilical, where it's, yes, it's abrasive, but I can still hear everything. Like, it's not like so crazy that it's just completely a wall of sound. Like, I can still make out everything on the record. Same thing with Magus. Like, yeah, it's a little bit cleaner, but there's like, you know, there's a lot of fucking layers. There's a lot going on, but everything is just so like, I can, every time I listened to it, I felt like I could pick something new out, and it wasn't just a like, it wasn't just a mess of like, you know, arrangements. So, I mean, yeah, I think that is like truly so awesome to have someone like that in your corner for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's quite as like Pro Tools neurotic as like Seth Manchester, Machines with Magnets Seth, but I mean, James will definitely get in there and tweak out things with that. You know, he hears stuff that like he talks to us about recording stuff, and I don't understand how.
He's definitely snapping some stuff to where it needs to be, and putting a cymbal hit in where a cymbal hit was missed, and you know, we go over all that shit with a pretty fine tooth comb, and then he goes over it afterwards with an even finer one. So
yeah, I mean, definitely like in terms of like the bulk of the records that he's done, like he gives us when he takes a first pass at the mix usually, and like his first pass is like generally like pretty close to what the record's gonna. It's usually us just kind of tweaking things out a little bit. Umbilical, maybe we took a little bit more of a firmer hand with, but
yeah, there were three mixes.
Who mastered Umbilical?
Plotkin. We've kind of alternated between James Plotkin and Adam Tucker that does Signature Tone. Yeah, well, Tucker is like because he's in Minneapolis, or like right outside Minneapolis, so he's like real tight with Adam Bartlett that does Gilead, and that's how we. I think maybe we met Tucker because he was doing sound at the first Gilead Fest or something, but yeah, I mean he's real good and he's real fast. So usually like Tucker is the guy we might get if we want like a real tight deadline. And then I think we used Adam a couple of times. I know we wanted to use him on Inconsolable because we just wanted kind of a different, like a warmer sound on that. And I think we started using him a little bit more because we had pressing plant issues with Heathen when we did the release for it. And so Tucker is one of his friends cuts lacquers. Greg that does rare form, and they're in the same town. So like it was real good when we could get Adam Tucker to master something, and then when Greg would cut the lacquers, if he needed to, Adam could go down and then like listen to it, be like, yes, that sounds right. No, that sounds, you know, whatever. So like we knew at the stage, at least to the point where the lacquers were getting cut, it sounded exactly like, because part of the thing for us, like with our records is like we've gotten kind of bad about trying to pack too much on each side. So there's a little bit of a balancing act with the records where you have to like you might have to lose a little bit of low end or lose a little bit of volume, but like you need a certain balance because you don't, like for us, we want to keep as much low end as possible, but we don't want the record to be like super quiet or whatever. So like there's a kind of balancing act that like the lacquer person needs to be really careful about. If you just send a record to a plant, like they don't give a shit. They just push a couple buttons and bring up a preset. So they don't care. As evidenced by Heathen, I have the test press to prove it.
I have the rejected one still.
Yeah, sounds terrible.
One thing I was certainly interested about, I don't know if we quite answered it in the episode that's definitely out, is, you know, leading up to Magus and your relationship with Sacred Bones. And maybe this is kind of a multi-part thing here with one, I thought it was wild that if I'm not mistaken, Magus, like writing for that came first, whereas, you know, like it was kind of reversed with, you know, the EPs coming out first and then the record. It seemed like it was kind of flip flop in the writing process. The other thing that kind of stood out too was that I wasn't aware that you were potentially going to self-release those and kind of use maybe the funds to like go into Magus. But then it seemed like it was kind of an organic thing occurring with all of these record labels, and then ultimately somehow Sacred Bones was like, hey, we want to work together. So I just thought that whole part of our episode discussion was pretty interesting, and I was curious about how that relationship formed.
The short version of it is we played a fest in Hudson Valley called Basilica.
Okay.
That's a killer, like probably the best, what I would consider like the best North American music festival. It's like experimental, weirdo, and Sacred Bones type bands. And then they generally I think it's like a 2-day festival, and they'll have like one metal band per day. And it's usually somebody that they consider like in the experimental run. So like Yellow Eyes has played it.
Oh, cool.
King Woman maybe played it one year. It's bands that are sort of like on like kind of ride a line. And so like we were like, I don't know how I think maybe when Brant was booking some shows for us, maybe he talked us on or something. But we got on. It was awesome. And Sacred Bones was there. And I think Mitch just went up to the guy running the merch table, which happened to this guy, Brad. It's like their A&R guy. And was like, what was it going to take for Sacred Bones to do a record for us? And it just so happened to be the one guy at Sacred Bones that's like the metal guy.
Oh, perfect.
That actually knew who we were. It was like, oh, I don't know why we haven't done a Thou record now. Like we should do one. Like so we got his email and we just started talking. We basically like talked our way on. And I think the original plan was we wanted them to do one of the EPs, and then when we pitched it to them, they were like, oh, we'd rather do the full length. Like, what would it take to do the full length? And then I can't remember exactly I don't know why. I think we were going to self-release Magus because we self-released Heathen. And like in my head, I just wanted to like finish that era of Thou. And like the next thing would be we'd start new. And like the next thing would be Sacred Bones. But then we were talking, it was like, well, fuck it. Let's just do it. Like, why wait? Let's just do it. You know, and the thing with the EPs is like we, you know, in typical Thou fashion, we wanted to like, even though we had been talking about Magus for like years at that point, and like we'd said in interviews, we said it for you.
Already committed to it before we had a song written.
But people don't read that shit. People don't listen, whatever. So like the idea was like we'd have these 3 EPs and we release. There was going to be no announcements, no like explaining what the fuck was going on. We would just release one every month on Bandcamp or whatever, and just put it out there, and then just let people talk about hear it and talk about it, and it get out with just people talking about it. And the fact that they were like so different than our normal sound and then different from each other, like we loved it. It just the idea of like fucking with people like that. And it sort of happened with when we put out House Primordial. People were so confused. I felt like people were so confused.
They thought it was the record.
Yeah, this is the new record, blah, blah, blah. But you know, because you start getting these labels involved, they like whittle away at that and water down because they're dealing with like distributors and blah, blah, blah. all the bullshit, like, and we got to do the pre-orders. What about the pre-orders and the different color vinyl? So it's like they kind of fucked up the thing. If I go, that's one thing I would definitely change. If I go back, I would have taken a firmer hand with like the way we were gonna kind of piece that stuff out.
If y'all had used the money from the EPs to release Magus, was the plan to release Magus a lot later, like not just a month after Ria Silvia?
I don't know how we were. I think originally we were gonna. I don't know how we went through so many different ways we were going to do it. And then I think eventually it was just like, okay, we'll just put it on Bandcamp, and then like the EPs, we're not even going to worry about a physical thing. We'll just release them on Bandcamp, and then we'll just have them. We'll just have money not from those EPs, but like the money we had already saved. We'll just use that to put out the record, to put out Magus, and then if Magus does well enough, then we'll go back and press the EPs as on vinyl, and then at some point, like it kind of shifted. It was like, okay, well, if we're going to release Magus, but we'll try to work with these this will be like our last shot to like work with some labels that maybe we otherwise wouldn't work with, or wouldn't have an opportunity to work with to do the EPs and stuff. I mean, I think the Death Wish thing only came up because Converge has asked us to do that tour, like that Europe tour or something. And I think I just texted Jake and I was like, hey, would y'all put out a Thou record, you think? And he's like, yeah, talk to some. And I mean, I kind of knew the Death Wish guys a little bit just from ordering records, but like we weren't like tight or nothing. I'm just some ding dong ordering records from, for the shop. So I didn't know if they even knew who we were really. It wasn't until like Converge asked us to go on tour that I was like, oh, well, maybe they have like some inkling of us.
I can't remember what year that was. 2018 maybe. We did a tour in Europe with Converge and Crowbar.
Oh wow.
Oh
yeah, that's the tour I'm talking about. Like where yeah, I think the thing, and even that tour too was like they weren't even asking us to go on tour with them for that. They just wanted us to come do Roadburn.
Yeah, oh shit.
Because Jake was doing like, he was like the one in charge of like the whatever it's called.
Curating.
Yeah, he was like the curator for part of it. And he was trying to get us and the Body to come over and do the collab. But it's like, we were like, dude, they don't live, like, we have to get them to come in the ones to like relearn all that shit. Like, we don't, like, and he was like, well, what if you what if you come over and do that collab, and then after the collab you come on a tour with Converge after? And we were like, oh, okay, well, all right. I figure it, and that's how.
And then they said but one catch, Crowbar's going to be there too.
Aren't y'all really influenced by that? Like Jake was asking you that over the.
Oh fuck.
Are y'all still going on tour to Australia later this year?
We do have plane tickets. The plane tickets have been purchased, so
reschedule dates perhaps, right?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much.
Ostensibly. Rescheduled dates from 7 years ago or whatever the first time we were supposed to go over.
Oh, okay. Shit.
Did we have something 7 years ago? I don't even remember.
I don't know if it was 7. I mean, at least like 4 or 5 years ago for sure.
We were supposed to go over to play that Dark Mofo Fest.
And even before then, we had talks with a couple people.
Was there something else?
Yeah, there's another one. I don't want to mention Homeboy's name, but
when it doesn't happen, I strike it from the
number of disreputable people who have tried to take us to Australia. We've politely declined.
Now we've chosen the number one disreputable full of hell to.
Yeah, full of hell. Yeah, the ultimate disreputable band.
Oh, yeah.
This is y'all's first time in Australia, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Are y'all still trying to go to Japan? A couple interviews I read, y'all specifically mentioned that.
Yeah, maybe next year. I don't know.
Hell yeah, that Budokan.
Yeah, Page 99 is talking about going over there. I was trying to convince Mike to bring us over.
Trying to convince them to forfeit most of their money that they would make by
yeah, give it to us.
Are y'all gonna like try to convince them to finally do that Pygmy Lush split if y'all go on tour with Page 99?
We've already released the songs we were going to do for that split, I think twice now. Like we wrote songs that were supposed to be on that split. It didn't happen, so we released them as something else, and then another time, same thing, and released those as well. So
yeah, when we did those Pygmy Lush covers for Archer and the Owl, we actually learned them from like a live CDR.
Yeah, they had the record hadn't come out yet with those songs on it.
It was like a pre-release before Old Friends came out, and we were trying to beat that, like get our covers out before that record. We just missed it. Like we were pretty close.
Yeah, it was like I think Andy Lowe had, or somebody had a copy of like just some live show bootlegs, and I was like obsessed with them, and I even put them. I had a blog at the time. I put them up for free download, and Andy Lowe was like, "Dude, I was gonna release that."
Perfect.
Like, sorry, like 200 people already found it. But, one funny thing that happened, I'm remembering from the we played a show with Pygmy Lush not long after we learned those songs, and we didn't tell them that we had learned those songs. We played at Euclid Records.
Yeah.
Playing, I think it was there we were playing. And we're like playing on stage, and I saw Chris and I want to say maybe Whitman were like over by the bathroom while we were playing, and I kept looking over them to see if they would recognize the song because it's done in our style. So I'm looking over, and Whitman's just standing there outside the bathroom, and I see Chris come out the bathroom, and he looks at Whitman. He just gives his face like, bro. Like, and I thought he was like super pissed that we did the song before it was released. And then after the show, I talked to him. I was like, dude, did we offend you? And he's like, oh, no. I came out the bathroom. Turns out like the toilet was clogged, and I was really pissed. So I was just going in the bathroom.
So with kind of speaking about touring, are there any plans for something stateside, 2024, 2025, anything in the future that you guys are at liberty to talk about?
Yeah.
West Coast in October.
Nice.
Yeah, West Coast.
Yeah. Where you guys, y'all are all east somewhere? Where y'all?
We're all over the place. I'm in the Chicagoland area. Swindle's in Louisville, and Dylan's in just above Nashville.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I would think we'd play all those places at some point just because Tyler's in Chicago now.
Yeah.
And he's been trying to get us to come up there. And probably if we did it, we'd at least drive part of the way. So we probably play some route of that.
Nice.
I think I'm gonna try to go to that Richmond.
That's the
Dark
one.
Days, Bright Nights.
Persistent Vision. That's the one East Coast thing I think we have on the books.
What's the what date is that, Swindle?
September 13th.
Okay,
15th.
cool. Well, I hope you enjoy it.
I fucking love Soul Glow. So when it was announced that Soul Glow was going to be on the show, I was like, I'm definitely going to try to go to that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence about
Soul Glow.
I'm not. Soul cool. No, I'm on the. I'm not even on the fence. I hate all the like old man reunion shit. Like, I really don't like it at all. There's like, you've seen a bunch of those bands, played with a bunch of those bands that like kind of get back there, and like really the only one I feel like I've liked is Race Trader when we played. Race Trader.
What about you? You were in Page 99 for that first reunion. So does that mean you hate yourself for it or what?
I hate myself a little bit for it. I mean, that was like a weird thing, but that seemed like a one-off though.
No, it's for sure. That was like, I thought they were going to play one show and then we'd never hear from them again.
Right. And I mean, honestly, like, and that was like at the start of all that stuff. So like, I mean, look, the thing is like I saw all those bands when they were around, or a bunch of those bands when they were around. And I can say that like now they are like technically better at playing their songs. They technically sound better than they did when I saw them. But there's also like something like really sad and pathetic about watching a bunch of old guys like cosplay their teenage selves or whatever. Like, I don't care for it. I just don't like it. But I'm like stoked to go to that fest and hang out with all those people that weekend. I'm curious to see Kalara because like that, I love that 7. It's just fucking incredible. So I am kind of curious to see them because I have less like context for that band than I would like Page 99 or City Caterpillar, Catharsis or Orchid or whoever else. Like, so like I don't know, but. I mean, I feel like those bands, like, they had their time.
Haven't we had our time?
Oh,
well, I mean, that's the thing.
Aren't we the sad, pathetic men cosplaying?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is when I see those bands, like, it does make me reflect and should we like, is it time to like No, I don't
It's
know.
not.
But people eat up those reunions too. So I don't know that. I don't know if y'all are very good.
But that's also, I'm thinking about specifically what you said about Umbilical and it being like this critique from your younger self critiquing the current self. Like that fits pretty directly in. Like we're making a record that is more in the style of the old Thou in its way. That is, putting on the skin of a younger man.
That's what this question was about, is the lyrics of Umbilical.
But to me, like the Umbilical record is like our litmus test. We take it on tour, we see how the audience responds. If they respond well, we keep touring, and we keep doing stuff. If they respond poorly, all right, that we're at least gonna not tour anymore. Like there's no point in playing if we're playing the fun songs and you guys don't give a shit, then there's no point in like playing shows anymore.
If there's one point I gathered from the interviews from Heathen on, it's that y'all really want people to fucking move during your sets.
I mean, it would be nice to play I'm not supposed to talk. I'm like, Emily is like chastised me up and down about like being such a fucking baby about our audiences. Look, I'm not like a performer and I'm not like a hype man. And I don't like as much of a loudmouth as I am. Like, I don't like the limelight and all that stuff. Like it's uncomfortable for me. So like, for me to have fun at a show and loosen up and like whatever, like I need to have a certain amount of energy coming at me that I can like respond to. And if it's not there, it takes a lot of like effort to get out of my head and like enjoy the show. So like I get that we play a certain kind of music that's slow and blah blah blah, and I get that like maybe we're not always the most exciting band to watch, and I'm not fucking yelling about I want to see blood on the dance floor or whatever other
God.
But like, you know what I mean? It's like you're gonna get you got to give a little to get a little. So like, it would be nice to have a certain kind of energy at a shit. It doesn't need to be like I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, we argue about this in the band all the time because like if people were like overly aggressive, I don't want that either. Right. I want like just the right amount of like energy.
It's just like the video game. You have to dance in exactly the right way.
Yeah, you gotta learn the moves. Yeah, Jack put those moves in there because I said these are the moves I want to see at the shows. So.
I know for a fact Justin Swindle would lawn dart himself across a room.
We've got one person.
That ice cream cone eating motherfucker, Justin Swindle.
You gotta just go up at every show now.
Yeah,
but I mean,
don't tempt him.
It's also funny because that's very classic Thou in a sense. Also because we are always a bit at odds with our listeners in one way or another.
Yeah, no
like
kidding.
Another manifestation. And I don't even say that like disparagingly. I mean, I think that tension fuels a lot of what we do, to be honest. And it's not just a tension with our listeners. It's a tension with the state of music as a whole, the state of DIY, whatever it is we're engaging with. Like that tension is always informing like the way that we do things, which I mean, that's just, I guess, the spirit of DIY in a sense.
I mean, I think people probably see us as like sort of like contrarian or little shits or whatever, which I'm not saying we aren't, but like there's definitely like the idea of like trying to push the envelope a little bit or like challenge people and challenge ourselves even more so. That's like part of the band, part of the band's identity.
Looking ahead with some of these shows, the record again out now on Sacred Bones. Is there anything you hope to accomplish this year, whether in life or in Thou?
Andy, career?
Yeah, career. Yeah,
your career choices.
Continue to pay rent. I'd love to be able to pay my rent for another year. No, I mean band wise, I think it'll be really interesting. I think whatever happens with touring and how this record exists in the world over the next handful of months or whatever, I think it's probably gonna inform whatever we do next. And I'm very interested to see what that means. I mean, I've already like started my process of like what next in terms of songwriting. I've already started like trying to write a little bit even, and it feels pretty wide open right now, which is intimidating if nothing else. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to see what we do next. I think that like overall as a band, whether it's sonically or otherwise, I do feel like we're getting closer to doing what we want, and having everyone's voice heard more, and what everyone wants and needs is at least vocalized and then taken into consideration. I feel like we're getting better at that. So, I mean, through that process, hopefully we all get to do some stuff that we're excited about doing. If we end up doing Japan next year, that would be a dream, for sure.
Giant
Would be a headline.
They're out there cosplaying, and we're up there with our walkers.
Yeah, if the Taylor Bros are listening, we'll help you. We'll push your wheelchairs. Yeah, I don't know. That was a rambling answer, but I don't know. I'm still. It's funny because someone asked me the other day, like, "Are you bored with Thou?" And I don't think I am really. I think I think a lot of work went into making this record for a lot of reasons. So I think that like with that weight off my shoulders now, I think I'm excited to see what we do next for sure.
I mean, I'm in like cleanup mode. Like I'm trying to like get all the old stuff back in print, make sure we have records. I've got some like designy zine stuff I want to do to like kind of pull together all the old artwork and stuff. That electronic thing, that studio thing, I kind of want to like pull out again, see if I can polish it off and get it to something we can use it out. Like Andy's probably like the next person I need to like really tap to like massage it into something hopefully usable.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have input on a Val record.
Yeah, finally.
Impose my will again.
Do we want to do Rex? Do we want to do share some things right now?
I'm going through this period of like really through this period of like reevaluation, like songs that I used to not like, bands I used to not like, primarily from like 90s and early 2000s stuff that I haven't really sat down with Cracked Rearview, but I bet you there's some songs I probably dig.
I got the tape over here if you need it.
Okay. But no, so I've been adding to this playlist of just like songs that if you asked me 10 years ago, I would have been like, I don't want to listen to this. So that's stuff like there's actually a 311 song on here, as a matter of fact. But yeah, it's like there's some butt rock. There's a song by Default and Switchfoot.
Oh man.
Tonic, Sublime, Seven Dust, Live. I'm going through all this stuff and I'm finding songs that I like. Hero of the Day by Metallica. I'm like obsessed.
Oh, okay. I kind of I fuck with that.
I love the Load record unabashedly.
I don't really love Load because I think the blues stuff is where they lose me. Because I think they're trying to
appease somebody.
Trying to cosplay some cowboy stuff and launder it through the lens of Alice in Chains, which is, innately offensive to me. But Hero of the Day is like a insanely brilliant song. That and I've been listening to a lot of Typo Negative.
Hell yeah.
Kind of reevaluating that. So no, I don't have any cool music probably to recommend. I mean, I'm listening to a lot of avant-garde shit too, but mostly butt rock.
Hell yeah.
An episode of Bandsplain. Bandsplain's doing all grunge right now. They just did like a 9-hour Pearl Jam episode where they go like deep into Pearl, like every bit of minutiae and trivia from all the records. So I just finished listening to that last week. So now I just did the Alice in Chains one. So I've been listening to Alice in Chains all week, revisiting Self-Titled, which I think is a really underrated Chains record. Has like some of their best songs, to be honest. I think Jerry Cantrell, I actually really identify with Jerry Cantrell as the guy who isn't the front guy, but does a lot of the musical
What's the weights?
I aspirationally, that's, I wish I could sing as good as him, but
we love I mean, we talk about all the time, the later shit, even like fucking Stone. Oh my God.
Yeah,
vocals on that. No,
I don't know.
not about it.
I mean, I am due to revisit that stuff because my friend Jason was like, he was like, dude, I tell you, give it a chance, man. The new Alice in Chains stuff is good, but there's a mental block for me with, all respect to William Duvall, but like, I just it's Lane Staley's just so quintessential, and it's very hard for me to listen to anyone else be a part of it. It's just
Don't you sing on the Supplicate record?
what's that? Yeah, dude. But it's it's caked in like 20 million layers of reverb.
Just get a little vocal pedal. You'll be all right.
That's the other thing. I'm working on a new solo record, trying to figure out what the next thing I want to do with that is. And I went through a big Nine Inch Nails phase recently too, and so I'm kind of like I'm really jealous of the way that Trent Reznor like is not afraid to emote.
Yeah.
Like he's just really giving it his whole body into it every time. And I'm thinking about when he made Pretty Hate Machine, how he just like the recording studio he worked at, he was just there after hours, just like using the space. And just imagining him alone in a room and just hitting record and then having the fucking self confidence to just bust out, head like a hole, just like by himself in a room with the headphones on. Like it's just crazy. I'm really aspiring to like that level of confidence in performance and recording. Like I want to be sure of myself enough to be able to like really let it out. Cause that's, you got all the reverb in there. I'm like, I sat down to record all the vocals on the record. Just did them in like the afternoon on a break from work. Like,
Any plans to work with Marissa again? I love that record, that solo record.
oh, yeah, actually, I did. I spoke with her the other day, actually, but I don't know. She's on a different path right now. She's really focusing on live stuff. So
Cool.
I don't know. I would love to do another record where we're actually in the same room because doing it over email was kind of a pain in the ass. But I would love to because I upgraded a bunch of my recording equipment in the past like couple of years, so I could actually meaningfully contribute some good sounding instruments instead of I think the guy that mixed that record was not too happy with the raw tracks.
I got her to sing on the electronic thing.
Oh, sick. Oh, that's
Did you
awesome.
really?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. It doesn't sound like her normal style. Like she just did something that's it's great. And it actually made me think that like if Kristen Hayter isn't like bails on being like the main vocalist, like Marissa might be somebody to tap to pull in as like the main, because I'm trying not to be like the main. I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
Not the main face, but still the puppet master.
Well, I mean, when me and James started working on it, the idea was to like do like a pop, like a Pretty Hate Machine essentially, but probably more like a down, like once you add in the guitar, it's probably more like a downward spiral, but like that kind of like pop industrial. So I didn't want the sort of like harsh vocals to like, I wanted that to be like even more of a background texture than it is already on that record, like more like another instrument or a layer or something, just another kind of sound in there, but have like a cleaner vocal.
See if I get my Nine Inch Nails record out before your Nine Inch Nails record.
Oh yeah, well they're both gonna be your Nine Inch Nails record.
Yeah, what are you listening to? What's on at the shop?
I mean, I'm usually just play testing stuff over here. I was real obsessed with that first Sinead O'Connor record for a while. The Lion and the Cobra, is that what it's called?
I can't remember.
I wish I
I watched that doc or something, though. That was good.
It's awesome. It's basically like it sounds like the Cranberries heard that record and we're like, all right, we're gonna start a band that sounds like this. It's incredible.
I want to start a band that sounds like that.
Yeah, so I was listening to that like pretty nonstop. The new Silver Godling stuff. Emily's working on like a classical, like a kind of neoclassical record that's like insane. Those demos and Andy's record, the Supplicate stuff, I jam that over here all the time.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, give me the tape.
Waiting on that tape to come in.
Yeah, that's the bulk of them, and then like some newer hardcore stuff, I guess. Gel. I really like that Gel record. I like I'm still listening to the new Turnstile record. I still think that's a cool record.
I was watching some Catatonic Youth's videos. There's this video of like a TikTok like white reggae dude who does this turnstile cover.
Oh no.
And I saw it and I was like, oh, that's funny. This is stupid. And then it started worming its way to my brain. It's cover of Mystery, and it started worming its way into my brain, and then I found myself like going back to watching it. I bookmarked it on Instagram, and then now I'm like going back every couple of days, being like, I don't really like Turnstile regularly, but hearing this reggae cover, as you can see, I'm in a really weird place lately.
well, that's how I was with that Bell Brothers thing for the Limp Bizkit Labyrinth mashup video they did.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about where it's like that whatever that fucking Limp Bizkit song is with I think it's Old Dirty Bastards on it. One of the Wu-Tang guys is on it.
It's In Together Now with Method Man.
Yeah.
That's
right,
it.
So, like, Bell Brothers does these like funny YouTube like short videos where it's like clips from like one of them, the clip from Labyrinth with that song, and it's like the Labyrinth characters rapping, and another one's like Run the Jewels with like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rapping it.
You posted that on your Instagram, right?
I posted it twice because I'm just I'll go back and there's a point where I was just watching that video like multiple times every night. Yeah, I'm listening to there's a dude on YouTube too now, Jesse Wells, that I guess is kind of blowing up. That's like a folk guy. I like his stuff. I've been listening to that. So I guess that's like my other. Right, Templars. I'm digging back into the Templars. I don't know if y'all into punk rock stuff. The 1118 is the record to get.
Dylan, what have you been listening to, dude?
Other than Thou recently, the new Pallbearer record.
Yeah,
I was really stoked for that, and just knowing like a band like that from I grew up, spent a lot of years in Arkansas, and knowing that was like brewing underneath me. Not realizing it was even there till like I moved away, and seeing that band's progression throughout the years of going from like, I guess you could say just like traditional kind of doom in the beginning to this kind of hyper melodic thing that they are now that's got these great vocal harmonies. And yeah, I just really stoked on that new record a lot.
I don't remember if Val played a show with them or if y'all just posted something about them, but I checked out the Paprika record, the Let's Kill Punk that just came out in March. I've been listening to that.
Jensen put out that right. He didn't want to put out a Thou record, but he put out Paprika.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was trying to get that earlier. Yeah, we wanted House Primordial to come out on Iron Lung, but he gave it the Nano.
Smart man.
Yeah.
I guess I just got a couple. Outside of Thou, Chicago-based artist Squirrel Flower. Been listening to that last record.
Huge.
Tomorrow's
Squirrel
Fire is like so good. Alley Light.
The Bjork cover, Unravel. She does really fucking good.
It just like blew me away. I don't know. Some of it's like, it's just great songwriting. I even like weirdly hear like Bruce Springsteen in there.
There's a lyric on the latest record actually, where she references Bruce Springsteen actually.
Discontinued the trend of literally every Dow episode we fucking referenced Bruce Springsteen. We made it all the way to the goddamn end.
Hell yeah, dude. We did it.
Nothing wrong with that.
The other, just based on the episodes, like knowing of Pygmy Lush because of Thou and talking about it a ton, there was I think through the research, it was like, we just wanted to make a record that was sadder than Old Friends. So I listened to Old Friends, and having never really heard this band before, fucking love this record. It was awesome. It's very psychedelic and folky. And, I think there's a lot of like different layers and, really cool like harmonies and guitar parts and stuff like that. Some of my favorite, Good Dirt, In a Wall, Penny on My Deathbed. It definitely makes me wonder what that split would have been like. But this record rules.
And the earlier record, Mount Hope, is also like super, super, super depressing. I love it.
I gotta check it out. I like to wallow. I like to get down there.
The first record too is real good, but it's like they do a weird thing where it's like half the songs are like loud punk songs and then half are like the folky things. And like I always thought it would have been better if they just like one half of the record was the loud punk stuff and the other half was the quieter stuff, but they like do it where it's like every other song, so it's like a little jarring. And I don't like the punkers. I mean, it was like they only did that because they're like, oh, we can still write punk, we can still write loud music, and they didn't need to. Like the folk stuff is like so like Pygmy Lush is better than the Page 99 stuff. They should have just stuck with Pygmy Lush and like gone all the way with that, but.
We got a lot of opinions about the Page 99 folks.
I do. I'm too close to it. That's the problem. I was in Page 99 that one night. Now I think I get to like have to say in their careers.
Well, I can't thank you all enough for taking the time out to chat with us for so long. It's been a real pleasure to get to go back and really dissect each of these records and kind of round it out with like getting to talk to you about the new one. And people should definitely check it out. It is out now. It's great. Umbilical, Sacred Bones. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank y'all
for
doing
it. I think it's insane that y'all did this.
Yeah.
Our actual maniacs. When I see you in Richmond, I'm gonna avoid you for sure.
Right. Yeah. How quickly would y'all have turned it off if I like started off the first episode saying you're the most important band like playing music? If I just dropped the word important like right off the rip?
Yeah, we would have just made a joke and just That's what we do best.
Thanks to anyone who checked this out. You can follow us at Riff Worship Pod, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There's playlists in there, the whole nine. But for Brian, Andy, Matthew, Mitch, Dylan, Swindle, and myself, you're listening to Riff Worship. We'll be back next week with something else. See you later.
Awesome. See you guys. Thanks so much.